Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Street News Network. Today's going to be a quick one. I just want to go over the recent breaking news of what's going on in the Middle East. And we're going to break down whether or not this peace deal is going to be everlasting. Some of the recent current events that have come out of it in the last couple days, especially today, in terms of people fighting. We're going to go over what the peace deal is supposed to look like strategically, in terms of we're going to watch a video to where it's going to show us necessarily how they're going to back up and where the lines will be and the conditions for the continued removal of IDF soldiers. And first, I'm just going to give my quick little thought on the situation. I personally don't think there's going to be much of a everlasting peace deal in this region at the time. I mean, just based off of the Israeli government and how that area, which they call Palestine or Gaza, doesn't necessarily have a functioning government. And how will we figure out if we can necessarily get rid of Hamas, which I don't think that is going to go as well as people think it's going to go. And Bear here said there will never be a peace in a land born of war and blood. Thank you. I agree with that. I do agree with that. So let's just first kind of get into, I guess, what they expected the peace to go like in terms of how they were going to back up and sort. So let's look at this quick video real quick and just see.
3. More detail, all in the video ahead. In the first phase of the Gaza peace plan, highlighted by the yellow outline on the map, Israeli forces begin pulling out of several populated areas so that they control only about half of Gaza. This reduction comes as a hard-won ceasefire finally silences the bombs and artillery.
And that's what is supposed to be going on right now. Miss Sand Topic said, so no peace in America. Gotcha. I mean, not necessarily. We do have a government. How do you have peace in a land with no government? And yeah, America's always been in conflict. So you could say, no, there's no peace here in America at that fact.
During this period, hostage exchanges take place. The Gaza militants starts by releasing some Israeli hostages, while Israel responds by freeing nearly 1,900 Palestinian prisoners in exchange for 48 hostages. However, for the earliest stage, only about 20 prisoners may be released. This is where humanitarian aid begins to pour into Gaza. Around 400 trucks enter each day, helping reopen bakeries and hospitals. This surge in supplies allows many displaced families to return home, and with airstrikes paused, international organizations are able to distribute food and medicine more freely than before. As trust starts to build, the second phase is set in motion. Israeli forces withdraw.
So we can pause it right there and talk about the first phase so far, what's been going on with the so-called first phase. I don't know if you guys have been looking at the news or reading any articles of what's been going on. And as the Israeli soldiers are backing up, the Hamas has been coming out of hiding, putting on uniforms and trying to police the people. I saw a video today of them doing an execution of a couple people, which was right here. I'm not showing the actual execution. I'm not stupid, but just so you guys can see, they're doing stuff like this out.
Harrowing video shows the gruesome scene where Hamas carried out mass public executions in Gaza on.
I just don't. Does anyone know what happens when you have a area like the Middle East and you start to take away securities and or get rid of a militant group in power? Does anyone know what happens typically? Does anyone want to comment? If not, I'm going to try and explain it anyways. But the area only dissolves into more conflict, because once you take away power, there's a vacuum. You're just leaving a vacuum of space there for another group. Yeah, mass destabilization is what's going to happen. I don't see how they're going to be able to bring in aid trucks. Yeah, they're going to have a change in regime. Someone is going to have to take power there. And then so now that leaves us with a question: is this someone in power that the people want, or is it going to be someone in power that America wants, or Israel? Like, who gets to have that power is what I'm trying to figure out. And if you look at any other regions around the world where stuff like this has happened, like militant groups start popping up, different factions, families, and basically they start to control small parts of the areas that they can control, and then they start fighting with each other. So is the goal to just pull back and let them fight each other? You said Israel dictates that. Well, that's what gets me into it, because Trump is saying that he told Israel to disarm. And I'll just show you the video for itself, what Trump said, because I don't like taking words out of context.
Take Hamas to disarm, and can you guarantee that?
Disarm, and because they said they were going to disarm, and if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you, but if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games. Okay, now we did something monumental. We got the hostages back. That was the first thing we had to do, above all else. But we have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes. You say
because you always, everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it?
You said Hamas assured you that they would disarm.
Okay, so with that, that's what I'm saying. I don't agree with that. So just who's going to disarm them? Because don't send a damn American down there to disarm them. That's my point. When he says we, who the fuck is we? Like, sorry for my language, but who the fuck is we? An American? Because no, they can go fight that. Israel and Hamas can go fight again for all I freaking care. Because you're not going to send an American down there to fight them. And first of all, the only other people who can Egypt wouldn't disarm them. The Jordans wouldn't disarm them. Iran is definitely not going to tell them to disarm. So the only ones who can really hold them to disarm would be, ding, 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 Israel. And then as we see today, let's see here. As we see today, look at this right here. Sorry, I put my screen in here. Look at this right here. We're looking at this ground news. Hamas takes advantage of the ceasefire to consolidate its control in Gaza. It's just Hamas is regaining control. So you're telling me that 2 years go by, tons of fighting, but then they're just going to give Hamas the control? Like, it doesn't. They're already killing their own people. They don't care. I don't get where people think this is going to have lasting peace. It's just not. I just don't see it. And I'm not trying to sit here and be cynical and hate Israel, hate Trump, or whatever. It's just like this is not America's. I mean, obviously it is America's problem at this point, but it shouldn't be. Like, I just don't. Can anyone explain to me? Is anyone ever have an insight of how they think the lasting peace is going to happen? We'll go back to the video of what is supposed to happen, but yeah, neither sides want peace. Both sides want to get rid of each other. I really believe that. Both sides don't care for each other's lives. Both sides, if they had a chance to completely wipe each other off the map with no consequence for it, they would do it. So there's not. I wish for the best. I'm not sitting here saying I want more violence in the area. Definitely not. But you're not going to someone's not just going to disarm at the kindness of their hearts. Let's just be real about that. So there's going to be some sort of violence to come from that. Like, we really think Hamas is just going to walk out on the street, lay down their arms and say, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. Yeah, right. I'm not that naive.
Even further and now govern just 40% of Gaza. At this stage, Hamas releases the remaining 28
Literally,
living
it's a
Israeli
war
hostages,
based on religion.
while
You're
Israel lets
exactly
go of
right.
about 1,000 additional Palestinian prisoners, many of whom were detained after the October 7 attack. At the same time, political reforms get underway. Gaza's administration shifts temporarily to a group of technocrats backed by the international community to ensure fair and neutral governance. The work increasingly focuses on rebuilding basic infrastructure, restoring power, reliable water, and safe living conditions. In the final phase and third phase, here as you can see is the smallest zone, that is the white line. The last Israeli troops exit most of Gaza, retaining control over roughly 15% along the border. Deceased hostages and prisoners are repatriated. Here blockades and restrictions are lifted, allowing unrestricted aid and goods. Gaza moves towards stable civilian rule, free of conflict and occupation. The roadmap isn't simple. Even after all these changes, Israel will maintain control over key areas marked by a white line on the map. So a large part of Gaza remains under some level of Israeli authority, even as the peace plan tries to offer a real path forward for millions of people worn down by years of conflict and shifting front lines. But if this plan collapses like others have before, Israel is prepared to use force to retake Gaza, and the cycle of violence could begin all over again. But why Israel has not managed to defeat the militant group for the past 3 years? Here's how their strategy has shifted. The militant group has moved away from traditional battlefield tactics and embraced a decentralized insurgency.
I just want to give an example real quick. So you know how we went into the Middle East as well, America, and we decided that we were going to take over lots of these areas and put a lot of troops. But as soon as we left those areas and moved on to a different area, what happened? All of these areas are completely destabilized to this day. All of them. Look at, so here's what's going on right now. The Israeli-Palestine. I don't want to click on that, but I'm just showing you. That's another conflict. Here's another conflict we were a part of, which helped spark. Here's another conflict in Syria. I really hope this thing lets me. Another conflict going on in Syria. Not great. I'm sure the fighting over here in Iran and Afghanistan pushed over here to Azerbaijan, which I don't know if you've heard about this conflict. It's been a while. It has actually been improving a little bit, but it's been going on for a few years as well. Iran is what it is. You know how they act. They put out proxies so they don't have to fight on their homeland as much as they used to. Afghanistan, like, let's not even get started over there. I remember we were growing up and they said the Taliban's gone. And then the Taliban came back and took over the whole area. And now they're also trying to say Al Qaeda, they're gone. They're not. None of these groups have gone anywhere. All this is just so they can have money, so we can keep funneling money in these areas and keep profiting off of war and destabilization of these type of regions so that we can come in and take control of natural resources. I think it's that simple. That the areas will stay destabilized because no one actually wants to have proper living in these areas, especially not the militant groups who have control of little pockets of area. They don't want to deal with a centralized government. It's not really even how they work. They have tribes and families and shit. They don't. Most of these people don't even agree with each other. They have the same religion and they both hate each other. The Sunnis and I don't get why we meddle into these religious conflicts when they hate us. At the end of the day, these groups are just going to realize, like, wait a minute. We have a common enemy, which is going to be Israel and America, but mainly Israel because they can reach them easy. And then now America has to come back them up every single time. When I can sit here and say that the Israeli government is honestly pretty corrupt, in my opinion. I think they're pretty corrupt. And I don't think along with this conflict, I think Benjamin Netanyahu needs to step down. I think the entire government needs to almost step down and they need to have a new election. Because there's a lot of radicals in their government who just want to have war. That's going to have to change. There's going to have to be a regime change on both sides, but do you guys really think that's going to happen? You think Donald Trump's going to tell Benjamin you need to step down? Do you think they're actually going to allow independent journalists into that area so that we can have a proper investigation to what's going on? I don't think so. They just claim, oh, well, it's too dangerous. Okay, so while now things are supposedly getting better, you need to allow journalists in there so that we can know what the hell is going on. I'm tired of hearing from the Hamas Defense Ministry. I'm tired of hearing from Israel because they're both just lying on each other so that one could look good. And right now, Israel has been very much losing the propaganda war by a lot.
Style of warfare. With many of its top commanders killed and its command centers destroyed, the group now relies on small, autonomous units operating independently. These compartmentalized cells are much harder for Israeli forces to detect and eliminate.
He's basically just saying guerrilla warfare. That's what they do in those areas because they don't have the manpower to really fight back. And the only way to really combat this is you can't pause operations because you're just going to allow them to rebuild, rearm, have a little bit of confidence that they're not going to die that day. Like, that's not how America did it. We sent people into people's houses every freaking night. And if you were suspected, you were snatched up. And then we would go back during the day and drop a bomb on that house if they decided to shoot at us from it again. But we went in first. I don't think they're sitting there doing a all-out genocide. I wouldn't say that. But the Israeli government and their military strategy is because I don't concede to, oh, well, we dropped leaflets, we did phone calls, and we did knock bombs. But we knew there were still people in the buildings, but we still decided to just drop the building anyways. But we warned them. Some people will just say, well, that's war. But no, that's a war crime. You can't willingly, knowingly know that they're civilians and still drop the bomb because they have tunnels under there. You have to. I mean, yeah, you could say that, but there's not a single country who's been convicted of committing a genocide. So the world's never going to condemn them for that. I would more say ethnic cleansing than genocide, because the population has grown there by a lot since they've been in power. They started, I think they're up to what, 2 million? Maybe not 2 million now. They've been slaughtering them. But yeah, the Israeli government needs a change. That I wholeheartedly agree.
Allowing for a more agile and unpredictable approach. Guerrilla tactics have become the new standard. Ambushes, sniper fire, IED attacks, and hit-and-run raids are now their primary methods of engagement. Rather than engaging in direct confrontations, these units use Gaza's dense urban landscape to strike Israeli forces and quickly disappear before a counterattack can be launched. This decentralized structure not only keeps operations going, but also ensures that even if senior leaders are lost, the group can continue to wage its fight on multiple fronts. Despite the devastation of much of its weapons manufacturing infrastructure, Hamas has managed to salvage and repurpose equipment. Tools and components recovered from damaged tunnels and factories have allowed limited production to resume. They are once again building rockets, anti-tank missiles like the Kornet and Kassan rockets, and improvised explosive devices IED, which we will discuss further in the video on how they are made.
EVE Online is a...
These unexploded Israeli munitions are often converted into makeshift explosives for IED weapons. To create a psychological warfare, even under Israeli military oversight, short-range rockets are still being fired from within Gaza to create chaos. They managed to fight on because of the group's tunnel network remains a cornerstone of its strategy. Although Israeli forces have destroyed up to 85% of the tunnels in critical areas like Rafah and Khan Yunis, Hamas still retains hundreds of miles of underground passages. This is a basic timeline of what started this endless war in the Middle East without taking sides. Let's take a look at what happened in the recent past couple of years. 2023, October 7 massacre. Hamas, the Iran-backed group controlling Gaza, launched a surprise attack on over 20 Israeli...
Entire conflict again right there. Let's see if there was any more Talks about the Iron Dome, blah, 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 blah. Let's see here. That's pretty much all the videos I have. I could find more right now, but personally, I mean, yeah, you do have a point. Ethnic cleansing is a subsect of genocide because you almost have to have one without the other. But they do classify them as two different things, but ethnic cleansing can be done within a genocide. So you are right about that. But instead of just complaining, what about some solutions? So for me, I think there needs to be a new held election in Gaza or just that general area at the moment, because right now I think there's over 500,000 people who've returned, I heard, since the ceasefire. But I do think they need to hold a new election, and it needs to be fair. You know, if they want to put Hamas on the election ballot, then I guess so. But I would like for at least maybe the United States or just the surrounding areas to come in and allow the people to have a clean and fair election so they can, if they want to continue with Hamas, then that's what the people vote for. That's fine. But I highly doubt that anyone else will let that happen. But they need to have a chance to have a free, fair election. I think that the Israeli government or just Benjamin Netanyahu needs to go, as well as some of the people in his government who has openly called for the removal of everyone in that area and basically the genocide of that area. There's people in his government who have spoken out at length about it. I think they need to go. I think they need to have a full-based investigation of what actually did happen on October 7th, because I think people have an idea, but they don't know exactly what happened. It's a really, really big failure on the part of Mossad, who was supposed to be one of the best intelligence agencies in the world, the kings of blackmail, they call them, that they allowed their people to get attacked without knowing at all. And it just being a big surprise to them is a whole big load of bullshit to me. Because even if they didn't know, the CIA probably knew. Someone knew. It's not like these people do know. These intelligence agencies often do know when these attacks are going to occur, and they often let them happen. And then they have to find out why. So an investigation has to be done for that, for sure. What else do I think needs to happen? I don't like the idea of America meddling in this. And I mean, I do think we're probably the only ones who will be able to negotiate peace between the two factions in this case. But in terms of us sending our tax dollars to rebuild the area, I don't like the sound of that, because I'm sure that's going to happen in some form of way. We're going to give Israel some money so they can help rebuild these areas. And if that's what the American people want, that's fine, but I really do doubt it. And you guys have any solutions? I'm still thinking. I'm going to go through a whole list here. At this end of the day, we need to realize it's a war based on religion. And you can't force one side to say that which religion is better, because now you're just going to cause more conflict. Do you guys think Israel should just take full control of the area, or should they just completely back out? And should we even have this plan of subsections? But we probably should, because Hamas will just rebuild. But I don't know. I'm not the president, but I will also say that I don't necessarily trust the Israeli government in this situation. I don't trust Hamas at all. They're just honestly not. You can't trust them to keep up on this peace deal. The issue is the respect of life. You want to expand on that for me? I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, none of them. Well, I mean, I think I could kind of read into it. None of them actually respect each other's lives to the point to where they can have a lasting peace, to where they can share, you know, infrastructure or share wealth with each other so that they can rebuild this area. Because now it just took so long. It's like the I don't think they needed to destroy the entire area to get to these people. I don't think that needed to happen. Like that's the part that really has been throwing me off about the whole situation, is what made me rethink it. Because at the beginning I was just kind of like, they have a right to defend themselves. But I was thinking maybe more they would just do, like, really go hard on their strategic attacks with special forces, get up in there, find these leaders, or, if America was going to help, we could help them in the terms of intelligence with the CIA, and actually go out around the world and find these leaders, because we know they don't live there. Yeah, and Israel needs to allow them to rebuild their own infrastructure in a way that they can't turn it off when they get upset with them. Because imagine if, like, Mexico or Canada was able to just turn off their resources and water and electricity and other things, to where now we're stuck in limbo trying to figure it out ourselves. Like, that that in itself would drive people to go mad. And now we also have to think about the cycle of violence, because there is a cycle of violence, like I've been talking about on this channel since I've been coming on here doing streams. The cycle of violence, I'll give an example. We just spent 20 years in the United States in the Middle East, 20 years of war and destruction. We probably got rid of about 2 decades worth of men, and who might have had kids. And that cycle of violence is going to grow up, because now they're going to grow up knowing that America was the reason why their father died, or America was the reason why their mother died. It's just going to cause more hate. There's going to be kids who grow up in that area who are already indoctrinated to hate Israel. They're going to hate them even more now. Just because you take away Hamas, you're not going to take away the grief and the hurt of these people in these areas. It's not going to happen. It's just not. That's not how it works. You can't just make someone forgive you. Yeah, they did. But the Israeli government also did give money to Hamas and prop them up. So it's been twofold in the area. That Hamas needs to go, but like I'm saying, is how do you get rid of them without the continued violence? A little peace deal and hoping they're going to lay down their arms. Oh my gosh, how many times have they done that? Like, we just went through this last year where they're like, oh, they're going to have a ceasefire. And then literally the next day, they're sitting there shooting at each other again, shooting missiles back at each other. Today, one side is trying to claim that Israel killed some people. Or let me think. I think I have the article of that. I might have deleted it because I'm on ground news. But today they were saying that Israel had to shoot at some people that was approaching them. There's apparently been fighting going on between factions inside the area that Israel has backed out of. What do we do about that? Do we just let them fight it out, and whoever comes out in control comes out in control? I mean, that's another bad idea, because Hamas is probably going to come out in control because they have the military power in the area. Just my question is, how do we get rid of Hamas without violence? We can get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu without violence. They need to have a fair election. That's another reason why I don't think this war is necessarily going to end, because he's going to have a lot to answer to, guys. He's been prolonging their elections, and on the need to not go to war is just what they're going to have a lot to answer to his people if this does stop. I don't think he's ready to do that. But let's keep going on this guy's video. He's saying, He's just giving more breakdown of what's going on in the area.
Military oversight, short-range rockets are still being fired from within Gaza to create chaos. They managed to fight on because of the group's tunnel network remains a cornerstone of its strategy. Although Israeli forces have destroyed up to 85% of the tunnels in critical areas like Rafah and Khan Yunis, Hamas still retains hundreds of miles of underground passages. This is a basic timeline of what started this endless war in the Middle East without taking sides. Let's take a look at what happened in the recent past couple of years. 2023, October 7 massacre. Hamas, the Iran-backed group controlling Gaza, launched a surprise attack on over 20 Israeli communities. The assault was strategically executed using a combination of rockets, paragliders, motorcycles, and other vehicles to penetrate Israel Defense Forces. This coordinated attack aimed to cause maximum disruption and casualties within a short period of time.
A place where they attacked, because I don't understand.
The sudden escalation of violence also drew Hezbollah, the largest non-state actor in the Middle East, into the conflict from Lebanon. Let's dive into the details of how the attack on Israel happened into 4 simplified parts of the operations. Part 1. In the initial phase of the operation, the stage was set for a dramatic and intense start. At around 6:30 in the morning, a staggering 3,000 rockets was launched from Gaza. This onslaught featured a wide array of rockets, including the distinctive homemade Qassam and the potent Iranian-made Fajr rockets. The Iron Dome missile defense system sprang into action to counter almost 60% of the rockets, animated in our recent video. Simultaneously, the skies near the border crackled with powered hang gliders and motorized paragliders and infiltrated the border. These unconventional flying machines serve as an unexpected element of surprise, challenging the air defense system. After the fighters aboard the hang gliders landed, they secured the surrounding terrain, enabling an elite commando unit to subsequently breach the fortified electronic and cement wall constructed by...
Do you guys honestly believe that they were able to do this type of coordinated attack without any intelligence agency picking it up and warning? I'm going to answer that. No. I highly doubt that's possible. So now comes the question, why wasn't there anything done about it? Did they just think, oh, it's just another bluff, blah, 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 blah. These intelligence agencies always have these huge failures, and then they want to implement huge reform and change so that it never happens again. Well, it was your job to make it never happen. So we shouldn't lose our life and our liberties so that you guys can do your jobs better when you're supposed. That's what we give them tax dollars and money for in the first place. It just kind of takes me back to Libya and the Benghazi attack. We knew that we lost the support of every single militia group in that area. Intelligence ratings were rating this a no-go area. But we still decided to send our ambassador over there and then he gets killed. But then everyone's acting like, oh, we didn't know this was going to happen. And like, no, they went into cover-up time. These intelligence agencies are not looking out for our best interest or looking out for, I guess, the interest of the people in power, you could say. But I just don't. Yeah. And that also, another example goes back to how I was explaining to you about the upcoming attack on America, because in Afghanistan, they have ISIS, the Taliban, and Al-Qaeda all living in the same area. They're all planning and working together with bin Laden's son to try and attack America. And they're also getting the ways to get into the country and help from Russia. So, and what the intelligence officer I listened to said that America is getting information from this terrorist group who's informing on this terrorist group about the plans of another group, basically talking about ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban. But they're all working together and they're just feeding America, but America knows it's going to happen, but we haven't done anything about it because we pissed that area to shit. Like, We messed up that area. And that's the same thing with what probably happened in Gaza. Like, I just don't. There was no chatter at all, is what they're trying to say.
Israel.
For this type of attack to happen,
Part
there
2.
was no chatter.
At 7:30, a critical juncture of the operation unfolded as fighters executed a coordinated entry into Israeli territory near the Kerem Shalom crossing. This crossing held immense significance as it served as a pivotal checkpoint between Israel and Gaza, symbolizing a breach into the heart of Israeli territory. Simultaneously, another group of determined fighters launched an assault on Israel's Erez border crossing station. With calculated precision, they employed explosives to shatter the formidable barriers that had stood in their way.
Break away from those high electric bills. It's buyback days at Right Way. Get up to $3,000 towards the purchase of a new heating and air.
Following this daring act, they swiftly sped across the border on motorbikes.
I just needed to come out on stream and get my voice out because this. Oh, here we go. We're going to talk about this last point, which was going into what I was just saying about how do they not know this stuff
within Israeli territory. Part 3. A commando unit attacked the Israeli army's southern Gaza headquarters and jammed its communications, thus preventing personnel from calling their commanders or each other.
How does that happen? How? And how did they get all the way there? Like that's just, it's not making sense. The story's not making sense. I'm going to end the stream here, but the story's not making sense. I don't trust the Israeli government to want to really stop the fighting. They may say they do because all the world's looking at them. They realize they've been losing a lot of support, especially with a lot of support with big name creators here in America. And they've also been doing a lot of censoring of that. I have not liked that at all. The Israeli censorship in America. Hamas, it's literally their religion and vowing to kill these people. So if you think that's ever going to stop because someone else gets in power, no. If they have any Islamic beliefs, like radical Islamic beliefs, it doesn't matter if their name is Hamas or fucking Iraq on the street. They're going to want violence. And then it's only been what, a day since the hostages came back and there's already killing in the streets again. I mean, we hope for the best, guys, but I'm not like the most cynical person. I usually try and hope for the best and think that good things will eventually come. But in this situation, I don't know. I almost have more faith that the war in Ukraine was going to end and have more lasting peace, but before this one. That's just my thoughts. We'll get into the war on Ukraine one day. This is just a short stream today. I just wanted to come out and just talk about it for a sec. I always appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Street News Network. I hope you guys all have a good night. Thank you so much again. Bye.